60 Minutes Rewind.
In this broadcast's 52 seasons, we've told many stories of race and racial injustice in America. While 60 Minutes continues to move forward covering the critical issues stemming from the killing of George Floyd, our team wanted to take a look back. We start with a Mike Wallace story from September 24, 1968, our very first episode.
The American policeman in 1968 is out of joint with his time. He is the target for charges of brutality, mistreatment of minorities. He's regarded with fear by some, contempt by others.
For this story, Mike Wallace interviewed Attorney General Ramsey Clark.
These next several years will determine whether we have time to rebuild our cities and rebuild ourselves, to do the immense construction job that this country has to do. And the policeman is the chief key to the solution as to whether we will have this time. If he can maintain balance, if he can enforce the laws fairly without provocation, if he can effectively maintain social stability in the areas that he polices without excessiveness, without either overacting or underacting, then we will have this time.
The Kid, the Cop, and the Knife. It happened in Milwaukee more than 2 decades ago, an incident as familiar as the front page of any newspaper. White cop kills armed black suspect, case of self-defense.
In 1980, Morley Safer interviewed police officer Louis Krause, who said he saw his partner shoot a black man and then plant a knife on his dead body.
What was the attitude on the force, in the Milwaukee force, back in those days, towards black people?
Very prejudiced.
In what ways?
Instead of giving them a break, they would give them a ticket or arrest them. I saw them put them on the elevator in the old safety building and give them an elevator ride.
What does that mean?
Going to the top floor, back down to the garage, and literally beating the out of them.
Did you ever complain to anybody?
Who are you going to complain to? Who would you complain to? The chief? Your boss? He was probably just as prejudiced as the guy walking the beat.
In many ways, Belleville is a picture of white middle-class contentment. But right over there on the other side of this highway is East St. Louis, Illinois. It is 98% black, and almost every one of its 40,000 residents is receiving welfare or some other form of public assistance. It also has the highest per capita murder rate in the country.
In 1993, Steve Croft interviewed Bob Hurst, the police chief of Belleville.
A few years ago, when a crime wave swept the wealthy Signal Hill area of Belleville, residents got together and spent their own money to build a wrought iron gate right on the edge of the city.
This is East St. Louis right over here on the other side of this road.
Yes, sir, it is. Yes, sir.
If I lived in East St. Louis and I was black, I'd look at this and I'd say, the message is pretty clear. Those people don't want me over here.
I would probably feel that way.
Does that bother you?
No, sir. I didn't put it up.
But you approve of it?
I don't disapprove of it.
He was kidnapped, tortured, and killed.
14-year-old Emmett Till was murdered in Mississippi in 1955 for whistling at a white woman. Nearly 50 years later, Ed Bradley told his story.
Some 50,000 people, nearly all of them black, turned out for Emmett Till's funeral in an enormous public display of grief and solidarity. Mamie Till ordered the funeral director to place her son in an open casket and permitted this shocking photograph of Emmett's corpse, which was published in Jet magazine and seen across the country.
Advance toward the group.
It ignited protests, civil disobedience, and backlash that would consume the South through the 60s.
I said, I want the world to see this. Because when people saw what had happened to this little 14-year-old boy, they knew then that not only were black men in danger, but black children as well.
When Hurricane Katrina blew through New Orleans almost 4 months ago, thousands of people left in the city were trapped with no food, no water, no shelter, and were desperate to escape the devastation. The bridge that spans the Mississippi River from New Orleans to Gretna was one of the few ways out until police from Gretna used force to stop pedestrians from crossing it. Since most of the police officers were white and most of the evacuees were black, the incident quickly took on racial overtones.
In 2005, Ed Bradley interviewed Ronnie Harris, the mayor of Gretna.
You had to be there to understand and witness total chaos, total mayhem, the lack of information. That is what was facing us.
And firing a shotgun, was that justified?
When law enforcement is present, order is expected. Without it, terror and mayhem can ensue.
So you felt you had to condemn everyone because there might be some bad apples in that bunch?
Absolutely not.
When I say condemn, you're turning them around. You had to turn everyone around, old folks and children, because there might be some bad apples with them.
What we did was seal that location off, just like a dead end, because there was no safety or security available to wherever they were going. It did not exist, was not there.
Okay, then let me rephrase it. You didn't let anyone into your community, including old women and children, because you thought some bad apples might have come in with them.
The crowd was desperate. The crowd had gone through some unbelievable sights and sounds and the devastation hurricane. And I understand they were looking for safety and security, something that I could not provide. It was as simple as that.
Oh my, Robert Morton.
Yes.
Was lynched for writing a note to a white woman.
Yes.
David Hunter was lynched in Lauren County, South Carolina, for leaving the farm where he worked without permission.
Yeah.
In 2018, Brian Stevenson and the Equal Justice Initiative opened a memorial to remember thousands of black people lynched after the Civil War.
And right now, when we talk about our history, when we talk about our past, we're not telling the truth. We're just not. America can be a great nation even though there was slavery, even though there was lynching, even though there was segregation. But if we don't talk about those things we did, we don't acknowledge those things, we're not going to get there.
Extended versions of these stories can be viewed at 60minutesovertime.com. Over the coming weeks, we will continue to publish stories from the 60 Minutes archive.